welcoming Recess Party to Q105.3 FM, WRHQ in Savannah. We're a locally owned, the only locally owned radio station here in Savannah. And you guys are going to be playing here at District Live coming up here pretty soon. So thank you again for joining us. And I just kind of want to start out at the beginning. Like how did you guys meet? How did you come together? Like what's the band's story?
Oh man. You want to take this, Riley, or you want me to take it?
No, you take this one. You,
All
you
right.
can take this.
All right. So me and Riley met first. We were both going to UGA and we were both in this club called Muse. And at the end of the school year, as kind of like their like end of year party, they had an open mic night. And me and Riley didn't know each other, but we both performed at this open mic night. And I remember seeing him play and just being like really wowed. And a friend of mine told me he knew I was looking for a band and that I was, really hungry to play. And he was like, dude, you two would be perfect for each other. You should send him a text message and you guys need to make something happen. And we did. That's how me and Riley started our first band, um, which was called Claustrophilic. But that eventually morphed into Recess Party. And I'll let someone pick up the story from there.
Yeah, I was bartending at UGA just after the pandemic, and I had a coworker who was friends with an old keys player of ours, and I guess you guys were just short of a bassist at the time, and so we had that connection, and we had our first practice at Riley and Christian's house and it was just in one of the empty rooms in the house and the rest is history. My first show with Recess Party, Riley called out of at the last minute.
It's true.
So at the very last minute, I was asked to front the band for the first gig,
Oh yeah.
and that was only slightly terrifying. And so that was my trial by fire, and we've just been making music ever since.
Yeah, Megan, you wanna give
Yeah,
your lore?
yeah, I was the last member to come into the band. I was looking for a band as soon as I got to Athens and started at UGA. I was just very restless, and so I started sending out posts online and feelers, and it took like no time at all for multiple people to kind of message me and send me in the same exact direction, which is, hey, you should hit up our buddies Riley and Christian. They're looking for a drummer. So in my reality, all paths kind of led to Reese's Party, and I didn't realize it at the time, but I ended up auditioning for them, and it worked out really quickly. I already knew a lot of the covers that they already had on their set, and so playing together just happened very fast, and the rest is history.
Mhm.
Very
Yeah,
cool.
UGA was a big part of us gigging together. We would do open mics at one of the bars every Wednesday, just to make it a habit. And yeah, lots of local shows that eventually led us farther.
So now you guys started out basically as, a college band, and UGA has a rich music scene as well. So how was that kind of forming the band and basically your formative years kind of coming together and figuring out that, hey, we actually might have some magic here.
I think it was a lot of as Sam said, we played a lot of those open mics at Boar's Head, shout out Boar's Head. And we would play until like midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning on a Wednesday and then go to school the next morning and just kind of like loved it. It was never really like a should we do that this week? Like we would lug all of our gear, even though it was so inconvenient. Um, we would just play like really fun shows, and that kind of led to people like knowing us at the open mics and then coming out to see us, and then eventually we played like some shows at Boars. I'm pretty sure we played what championship was that UGA lost? That
I think, oh man, I don't
th-
remember what year.
We don't want
yeah,
to talk too much about losing championships.
yeah,
Yeah, we
exactly.
can't put that out there.
Yeah, but we played like a really bad vibe show there after we lost a game. But it just kind of kept that momentum going. And eventually we were playing like frat shows and we were like, well, we're not exactly a frat band, but they do kind of like us. Um, and that just kind of kept evolving the music and kind of where we were at the time.
So speaking of evolving the music, did you guys start off with original material, or before you even started playing any of these other shows that you're speaking about, or were you kind of just doing mostly covers at the time, and then you got into, as you started vibing more together, you got into writing more music?
I think to break the ice, we would do lots of cover gigs, just to get more comfortable playing together. But at least for me, and I would assume for the rest of these guys, writing music was always the intention. And we got more comfortable with jamming, and then eventually put a couple singles out. And then we started to realize, like, okay, like the chemistry is really great between the four of us, and we got to work on an album.
How does the writing process kind of go for you guys? Does everybody contribute? Does somebody bring an idea and you guys, does it start with music? Does it start with lyrics? Like how does that work for y'all?
Um, each song's pretty unique, I would say. I feel like I've answered this question before with like a lot of the times I'll bring like this skeleton to the band and it'll be kind of like not all there, but like the idea is there. And then they kind of like make it whole. They put like the flesh on it and the blood in it and just make it like a real song. But there's some songs on the album that I think like Christian brought guitar ideas to, and there are like jam sessions that Megan and Sam have done that have led to songs, and like that's just it's kind of just however it happens.
It's definitely very collaborative in nature. Like I always like I'll hear like the skeleton, like Riley has said, or like some demo that we have tracked, and then I'll think of ideas for it, but then I'll hear something Megan's doing that makes me want to play something else, and it just becomes this huge like web of stuff that's working with each other. And I can't think of a better way to describe it, but it's just really cool.
Yeah, we'll go back and listen to like the first demo of a song. I remember like the other day I pulled up the voice memo for Paid in Full, which is the title track of our first record, and it's like unrecognizable from what it sounds like on the record. Like the vibe is there, like the backbone's there, but it's just like totally different. And it's cool to just see how that naturally evolves.
What about the lyrics? Who usually brings those to the table? And, are they, where does the inspiration for them really come from?
That would be all Riley.
I like writing lyrics. Yeah. Um, I don't know where they come from usually. I think it's happened a couple different ways where like sometimes I'm writing on just like an acoustic guitar and just like lyrics kind of just spill out, and it's usually like whatever I'm dealing with at the time, or like, a situation I've found myself in, and I don't ever really know it's about that until kind of it's all laid out there and I kind of start to like pick it apart and realize like, oh, that must have been like this that I was going through at the time, or that I was going through at the time. Um, but there are also some times where it's like, oh, I want to write about something. Like the title track of the new EP, I was like, I know what theme I want. Like I know what this song's going to look like, and I just kind of have to get there. Um, Sometimes it's like old, um, like journaling that I've done that I'll pull lines from, and yeah, it's really just dependent on the situation.
Excellent. And Megan, you're a little quiet over there, so I got a question for you. I mean, how did, where did you start? How did you start drumming, and where did that come from for you?
I I started drumming when I was 11. My dad is a guitarist, and he actually had a very similar pathway as me. He went to UGA back in the early 90s when REM was here and Widespread Panic, and he played in a band. And so they were opening up for all those big names and having a good time. So I got into drums and kind of was just inspired by him and being able to play with him when I was in high school. And I had a lot of influential drum teachers too, uh, that really just inspired me to keep going and keep playing. So I had a drum teacher that uh, tours with Janelle Monáe right now, and another one that is all into world drumming and tabla and Afro-Cuban, and used to play with the Hampton Grease Band in Colonel Burst Hampton. And so them two in particular, another person that does event organization in Atlanta and Dunwoody, were all very influential and were awesome for putting me in contact with musicians in the area.
Nice. And speaking of influences, I like that segue. What do you guys feel like there's some bands that you really look up to that are really influential that you kind of pull sound from? I mean, I know everybody always wants to be their own thing, but you always are influenced by the times and people that you look up to. So who are your guys' biggest influences as bands?
Absolutely. I know one for myself, and I think one for Riley too, because he's the one that put me onto them, is Wonder Horse. They're a British band, right? I
Yeah.
don't remember exactly where they're from, but they just put out an album recently that it's called Midas, and that is a very cool album. I've been listening to a lot of heavier stuff lately, like a lot of like new metal and stuff like that, which I feel like is reflective of how I play in our EP that we just finished recording and are getting ready to put out. Um, but yeah, lots of like Deftones, System of a Down. I learned a lot of Tool on the bass growing up, so they've left a pretty big impact on me as well.
Anybody else?
Christian?
Man, don't leave me out of Wonder Horse. I like Wonder Horse too, okay?
Sorry,
I got
I
left
don't
out
mean to
there.
exclude.
I know. Yeah, I agree with Wonder Horse. Personally, I love like all the 2000s like alt rock. That whole like era is really big for me for sure. Um yeah. I think a lot of like something I was like thinking about the other day is like how like when you first get started in music, you're always trying to like be just like your influences and your idols. And then there comes a point where your goal like almost reverses and you're trying to like be different than your influences, but you like can't undo what your influences have done to you.
Mhm.
So like you'll never be the same from just like listening to them. But I feel like we're kind of in a phase of like finding finding our own sound and maybe trying to get away from like the people who have influenced us, even though we'll never get away from them.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Well said.
I feel like I'm always deep down going to be like the biggest Radiohead fanboy. And like also I grew up when I was like 16 to 20, I like listened to Midwest emo exclusively. And like I feel like my lyric writing has always been kind of influenced by like that and then Counting Crows. And so like even if you can't tell that the influence is there anymore, like or if I can't tell, like someone else will go, "Oh, this reminds me of like Counting Crows," or "This reminds me of like a modern baseball song," and
Mhm.
I'm like, "Well, shit, I'll never really, I'll never really get away from that."
Yeah.
That's awesome. So if you guys had to kind of classify yourself in a genre of sorts, what would you say that you guys play? What brand of music do you guys put out there? I know most people don't want to put themselves in a box. I
Mhm.
totally understand that. But you just classified some of your favorite bands in a box. So,
Mhm.
what do you guys think to our audience so they can get an idea, feel for what you guys do?
Hmm.
It's a tough one.
It's genre defying, man. No.
I
Yeah,
feel like the second word is definitely rock.
Yeah,
Blank
yeah.
rock.
sure. I lean on alternative a lot. I don't know about
Yeah,
you guys.
that's where
Yeah.
my head was at.
Yeah.
Okay, it kind of leads to my next question because I hear a lot of a lot of the time, especially from people my age or older, that rock is kind of dead, and I feel like a lot of generations go through that. But then hearing bands like yourself, and I know there's so many young bands that are coming up that are great rock and roll bands. So what would you guys say to something like that? That rock is dead.
Man, I think that if you think rock is dead, you're not looking hard enough.
It's
Um,
closer than you think.
yeah, because I mean, like I think Christian and I talked about this the other day because one of his students brought up like, why is it like rock and roll to smash your guitar on stage? Um, and it was like what, like a 9-year-old that asked you that, Christian?
Yeah, I was like an 8 or 9 year old asked that profound question.
Yeah, and it's like I don't know, like rock is an attitude, like rock is a personal expression kind of thing. Like it's always there. You just got to look for it. Like I think what gets pushed to the top might not be everyone's thing, and that's okay. Like music has kind of trended towards being as accessible to as many people as possible. Maybe people aren't taking as many risks or looking hard enough, but I don't know, it's definitely there, man. It's in your local scene. Like support your local bands. They're trying to figure it out and they're definitely broke while they're doing it. So,
I will also be a proponent for your local scene. Like, I'd say like I could rattle off a million local bands that I've gone to shows to that have influenced like how I play and how I listen to music and how I perform and record music, and it's just really personally impacted me. It's like my own friends that are releasing this art. That's so cool. It's just so personable. So like you should support your local scene. It's a lot more affordable than your big stadium gigs too. And
true.
it's really nice to feel supported by the people that we have that come to our shows and buy merch and listen to our interviews and to our music. And it just means a lot. And I love having that connection with people.
And I think a lot of people love finding those bands, right? Finding the next great band that's going to come out there, and you get to go to the show, and you're like, oh man, I remember seeing them, and it was in a small club, and now I have to pay $200 to get a nosebleed seat in an arena, and I can't afford it anymore. So I totally agree that, I like a more small, intimate setting for sure. So, and I also think rock is kind of a defiance, right? By definition, I think
Yeah,
to be rock and roll, you're defying whatever came before you. So,
Absolutely.
so why shouldn't it sound different, and why shouldn't it be your own thing for sure? Um, so you guys are coming to Savannah, Georgia. Uh, you guys have played here before. What do you guys think of Savannah as a music scene, and do you enjoy playing in smaller towns at some smaller venues?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. It's almost been a year now since we've been to Savannah. Um, so it's been a while, but we had the best time, the four of us, the last time we played at District Live. We got to play there a couple times, and it was just really nice. Like it's Riley's hometown, and we had great family and great friends that were able to come by too, and all around just great vibes.
yeah. We also
I
like kind of, oh, no, you.
oh oh, real
You do
quick,
your
me
thing.
then you.
Okay.
We might have been about to say the same thing, but
Yeah.
I was gonna say it's also worth noting that Savannah is like somewhere we like cut our teeth really early on as a band, and Megan's very first gig with us was in Savannah, and we
She
used to
also
play
had a
like
trial by fire.
Yeah.
she did major trial by fire. We would play 3 hour gigs at like a taco shop, and
Our
oh
pain
man, it
was
was just the best
tacos.
time. Yeah, so hot, like a million degrees, playing so long, but some of my favorite time with a guitar around my neck.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Megan, I feel like that's your story to share about your first gig with us.
Oh yeah, hell, I like auditioned for them, and they were like, "Oh wow, you're awesome. You want to come to Savannah with us in 2 weeks and play 2 3 hour gigs?" I was like, "What?" Oh,
Back to back.
well, and
Yeah, same day.
Yeah.
and they had to get a sub-in drummer for that, but I made the other two, and it was 2 3 hour gigs back to back, and my hands were bleeding by the end of the night, and my kit was falling apart.
But did you have a good time?
Yeah, I had a good time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was the Chamacos Huckapoos doubleheader.
Oh
R-
my gosh, yeah.
RIP Chamacos on the main drive. But yeah, that
Yeah.
place we used to play for like 3 hours at a time. They would just pump us full of tacos and margaritas. It was awesome.
Yeah.
So
Well,
great.
Chamaco still lives. It's just in a different,
Just
they moved to a
elsewhere.
different location.
That's
Mhm.
right.
Yes. But that's awesome. Love hearing local names being dropped for sure. Um, so do you guys tour a lot? Have you been touring a lot? And what is the tour life for you, or do you guys stick closer to like the Atlanta, Athens area?
We've been branching out a lot more lately. We've gone as far out as like New Orleans, out west. We've gone up to Nashville. We've hit Boone, North Carolina, and we've made it down to Florida a couple times as well, just like in the general southeastern region. Hoping to go further up north sometime soon. Mhm.
Yeah, gas and a trailer are expensive, so we have to be smart about how we like route our touring and like when we do it. Especially because we all also work like full time. So, but yeah, it is the goal to get as far as we can.
So the band is not yet paying the bills. You guys all have independent jobs at this point. Is that right?
Oh
Yes,
yeah.
unfortunately so.
Can you talk about that? Talk a little bit about the labor of love, that you're still trying to find your legs as far as a band goes, but that it's important to y'all.
Well, I think that like part of that is a choice and that we could play these gigs and every time we make, a dollar, we could split it up between the four of us and we could use that to like pay for our rent. But what we opt to do instead is every time we make a dollar, we put it away and then maybe we take a small cut, but we're really saving up because there's something we want to do soon, and whatever we want to do costs money. Like to record our EP, we paid for that with, we didn't all chip in money out of our personal bank accounts. We used the band's funds that we all collectively earned to pay for things. So part of us all still working jobs and having other sources of income is so that we can keep putting back into the band to help it grow larger. It's, like a startup company may be very successful, but still not be paying its investors dividends at the
Oh yeah.
beginning because you want it to grow.
Mhm. Well said.
Christian's our finance guy.
Yeah,
I
he
couldn't
runs the
tell. Couldn't
numbers.
tell.
Yeah.
So speaking of the new EP, let's talk a little bit about new music. So what are you guys working on? How long has it been since you released your first album?
It's been a very long time.
It
Yeah,
was
about
long.
almost 2 years. Almost 2 years.
hmm we were, at least I was caught up in the madness of like graduating college and moving cities and acclimating to like the real world. And I think that just kind of got the better of all of us for a little while. And then after the dust settled a little bit, we were able to come back together and record this EP. It's called This Must Be. And we're gonna start releasing it soon. Sometime this summer, I think we're gonna start putting out a couple songs, but it's 6 songs, about the trials and tribulations of getting your footing once you're out in the real world.
Yeah, I would say that's very accurate. It feels like a little bit more, I don't want to say mature because that feels like the wrong connotation for it, but it is kind of like we got out into the adult world and looked around and we were like, Man, I still kind of just want to play music and like write still. And um, yeah, we had moved. Three of us had moved. We were all kind of working odd jobs, still kind of gigging off of the first album, and yeah, trying to get out there a little bit more. I think we did a little bit more of our touring, like Sam said, to Louisiana. But yeah, this one is kind of just like a reflection on that period.
I was going to say, all that moving and everything that Sam was talking about, I'm sure that helped create material to be written about, life experiences for sure.
Mhm.
So how do you guys workshop a new song? Do you play it? Do you work it out together and then try it out live and then keep workshop? How does that process kind of work for you guys?
Hmm. I think the ideal conditions are when the four of us are in my basement just jamming on an idea that we have. Um, I feel like we all kind of divvy up the responsibilities kind of equally. Without even really thinking about it, I feel like it all just kind of falls into place really nicely when we're all together. But we had a bit of a different studio experience this time recording the EP than we did with the last album. And so that resulted in a lot more like creative flow while we were in the studio with our engineers and producers, Ben Wolken and Evan Dangerfield. Is that his last name?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's it.
it was cool getting to work with them too. So yeah, lots of ideas flowing up until we were done recording it. I would say there was new stuff getting tacked onto the songs.
For
Hey,
sure.
oh, go ahead.
I
I'm
was gonna
sorry, but I have to leave y'all. Thank you so much for having me on this interview.
Thanks for
Yes.
coming, Megan.
Thanks,
Bye.
Megan.
Megan.
Y'all finish it out for me.
Oh
Peace.
yeah.
You got
Peace.
it.
Yeah, but I was gonna say like the title track was written in between our two studio sessions that we had. We had like two different blocks, I guess, of recording time. And the idea was like there and it was just like a repetitive riff and it was like we have to pursue this idea and like this is going to be something, but we don't really know what it is yet. And it just sort of happened because of the pressure of time and think the circumstances that we were in. Um, and I think that was probably one of the more unique like writing experiences because there was a lot of time pressure and there was a lot of like um, things to excavate in it. But yeah, Christian, you got anything on the?
I think that song. Yeah, I was gonna say. I think with that song, there was like time pressure, and we were in between recording sessions, and we wanted like a new song, but like I feel like you, Riley, kind of like already knew that this song like had to be written, and he already knew that it was gonna be the title track, and he already like knew that that was like a story that just like had to be told and like there was no compromising on. So I think that like the time constraint was kind of there, but I think the bigger like push behind that song was like the like thematic necessity that song had to be there to tie together the EP, like what the EP means to us, but also I guess just like everything that's happened in our lives in between Paid in Full and this new album or this new EP,
Yeah,
without
he
going into too much detail because
I
if
know
you
I'm
want to know
trying
the
not to
story, you
spoil
gotta
anything.
go listen to the song when it comes
yeah,
out.
I think that's really hit the nail on the head. It was like that song had to be written, and it had to be the last song in the EP and the sequencing, just because like I think Sam said it like if we ended the album or the EP with like one song, it would have been the bad ending, like the sad and like kind of like harping on how hard the last 2 years have been. But then if we ended with this title track, like that was like the way forward. And that was like how we continued to write together and how we kind of continue to be friends, really. Like it's what it's about. Um, yeah, not to spoil anything.
That's deep, bro.
So can fans expect to hear some of these new songs at the gig coming up in a couple weeks?
Absolutely. We are dying to play them live.
Yeah.
So will this be like a world premiere of some of your new music, or you've already played it around town a little bit? It'll be a premiere at least to the people in Savannah, I'm sure.
We have a few from the new project that we've been experimenting with live, but there are also a few that we haven't played live yet. So jury's still out on if we'll play them or not. Ooh, who knows?
To be determined.
All right. Well, listen, thank you guys so much. We're really looking forward to seeing you guys live at District Live. What I can't remember the exact date. I'm so
July
sorry.
26th.
July
Saturday, July
26th,
26th.
District
Yes.
Live, 8 p.m., I believe.
Yes, and we have some local support from Lena Valen and Kicklighter.
Very cool. A couple
Yes,
openers as well. I'm sure they're going to be
yes,
awesome, so we need to check them out too.
yeah,
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us, guys.
yeah. Thank you for your
Of
time.
course.
Yeah, thank you so much.